So thank you everybody for joining this webinar. I'd like to thank Mav for coming and talking a little bit about their service. This is a webinar to talk about how Mav and boberdoo can integrate to improve and help your business grow and scale. In terms of today's agenda, we'll learn a little bit about Mav and then a little bit about boberdoo. We have two use cases that we're going to cover today that involve communications between Mav and boberdoo. And then, of course, how you can get started and then cover any questions that you have. So I'd like to welcome Matthew of Mav. Thanks for joining here, Matthew. Could you introduce Mav to us?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Scott, and Jake for having me. I'm looking forward to jamming, have a little fun with you guys today. Matthew Black, founder of Mav. Many years ago, I wrote the first line of code for Mav and somehow convinced people to join this company with me. But and over the years, we managed to build essentially a call center replacement for primarily PNC insurance agents right now. So you could think of any of the traditional job a call center rep does for insurance agencies, whether that's outreach, initial lead outreach via SMS and soon to be voice, qualification, live call transfers, and soon to be RC1 quoting as well.
Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to introduce Jake at boberdoo. Jake, tell me a little bit about yourself and boberdoo, please.
Great to be here. Boberdoo's been around a lot longer, or for a long time, I should say, since I was a wee babe, really. I've only been around with the team for a little while, but boberdoo was, I guess, incepted, Scott, when I was around 3 years old.
Wait, for real?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I wish I could say I was there for every step of the way, but it's cool how far we've come.
Yeah,
the boberdoo in of itself has evolved a lot over the years, but the way I like to describe it is really just a platform for giving you like total control over your lead flows and the ability to like seamlessly scale your business. So whether it's like leads, clicks, calls, all of those have value to you in some way or another, whether you're purchasing them for yourself or selling them to like a suite of clients. So I think the beauty of boberdoo is being able to allow you to define the value of a lead to you. And with tons of ways to integrate between vendors and external systems like Mav, boberdoo really gets to act as that central hub for your lead traffic. And it's been a lot of fun getting to work with third-party integrations like Mav and kind of set up these connections so that we can start flowing traffic between the two of us.
One quick story really quick. So related to how OG boberdoo is, I think my first LeadsCon event that we sponsored or maybe attended, you guys were like the first booth I think I saw as I walked into the event. So it's just cool to come full circle from all of that and be on this webinar with you guys. So very cool.
Yeah, I've been at every LeadsCon since the first one. I was a client of boberdoo before I came to work for boberdoo, and Brad used to bring me in to work the conferences since I was in the lead system every day, and he didn't have any employees. So
rock and roll,
it's
man.
good to see a lot more vendors and exhibitors at the conference than just us and like three others.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So today we're going to talk about two use cases, both primarily, as you mentioned, around insurance, PNC, and then we'll end with a third one that literally popped in my head as Matthew, you were talking here. So I'll pop that onto you both at the end of the call here. So in terms of the two use cases here, we have really qualification and then compliance. Those are the two main things that we're going to cover here today. The first use case being scaling your lead purchasing through boberdoo and Mav.
Yeah.
So Jake, can you tell me a little bit about our clients that operate in home and auto insurance and how they're using boberdoo?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when it comes to PNC, that's probably one of the largest industries in terms of data that we see flowing through systems at a time. It's hundreds of thousands of pings moving through various systems on an hourly, minute basis. So when it comes to scaling, like I was talking about with Boberdoo, becomes really important. Onboarding a new vendor, for example, could like easily double or triple your volume. And onboarding is great. Putting on new vendors is awesome. You're getting more volume, you're getting more traffic, you're getting more business. But the problem then becomes, time just becomes so much more important to you. How do you separate the consumers that are just shopping around versus ones who are, highly invested in purchasing? The term I always use is intent. How can we separate those high intent clients, the ones who really want to shop around versus ones who are just kind of filling out a form because they're like, maybe I can get my rates down, who knows? And so whether that's you're a seller, looking to get better deals for your buyers, or a buyer yourself looking to filter out some of those higher quality leads, it becomes, a real sticking point for those that are trying to grow. And that's what I'm really excited to see kind of Mav branch out into. Matt, I guess you want to talk a little bit more about like what you guys are doing in that space?
Yeah. Jake, I think you hit 2 points that are really important here, right? Like, one, how hard it is to onboard a new lead vendor, right? Like, especially if you don't have a unified platform that allows you to plug and play and retain a consistent amount of data, right? Like, and to even take that one step further, I remember one of the most exciting things about working with you was when we had that first customer that supplied all of the Boberdoo fields, like all, I don't know, 100 or whatever, right? Because like getting all that data to a platform like Mav, which its job just begins at that point, allows us to do two things. One, we can be contextually relevant to the 10th degree. If we know the current insurance policy you have, your current coverage, where the lead came from, where you're located, how long you've been insured, right? We can contextually wrap a custom experience around you. And the conversational AI that we generate with more data just becomes better. It performs better, right? So we can do things like capture intent, right? We actually, this is the first metric we track with anyone who goes in the system. We call it PI, positive intent, right? And then once we capture that positive intent, like, yes, I am in market. Yes, I do want that insurance quote. We go through a series of qualifying / confirmation questions. And this is really cool because what we find is that folks might go into a lead vendor and populate information for, let's say, one car, right? Then they get into Mav where they confirm that they do want that insurance quote. And oh, by the way, I have another car and I do have a home, right? You go from one item to three items, right? And as anyone in the PNC space knows, that's extraordinarily valuable to the underlying value of that lead and call. But you're outsourcing that to AI. So before even a licensed agent gets on the phone, you have all that contextual information. And with you guys, we do a two-way integration. So you'll send us the initial batch, we'll capture intents and update any relevant information, and then we send it right back to you guys. So that agent who picks up the phone, whether it's through call distribution or a single buyer, they got that information in front of them. They know that this is a 3-item consumer on the line, and they're able to do a much more successful sale on their end.
Matt, you brought up a good point about what you can do with the data, and especially in home and auto, a lot of that data is self-reported. Jake, do our clients address some of the maybe questionable data points before they get those leads to Mav so that Mav has more data points to work, more better data points to work from?
Absolutely, yeah. So through kind of as part of the lead routing process, one of the available options that we work with in Boberdoo called outside services. And outside services basically let you send that lead data off to any other like third party integration, whether it's for like quality scoring or enhancing that lead data in some way. One of the most common ones we see is like with the home insurance area. Maybe they get you have an address value or something. It's not quite sure if all the information that consumer's putting in there is exactly true, but sending it out to a reputable like database source lets you gather stuff like the square footage, the stories, the home value, that sort of stuff, and really lets you make a more informed decision on the value of that lead, and just kind of supplements all of that data.
Yeah, just like putting yourself in the shoes of an insurance agent, which this industry is very transactional, for lack of better words. Every minute counts when you pick up that phone, and for these folks, like picking up a call and knowing that various pieces of information are verified as of 2 minutes ago, right? And whether that's self-verified by the consumer, by them telling conversational AI that, yes, those are my vehicles. Yes, that's my address. Yes, I own a home, or through a third-party enrichment service. Yeah, I think all of that's gold. One of my favorite stories here for the team is I remember we got a consumer early on in our new product where we were reading conversations, just like plucking them out and seeing how they were going. We had a consumer come through and they were passed with certain vehicle information. Let's just say it was a 2010 Toyota Camry or something. And that information got passed for us. And when we got to the point where we were verifying if that's the vehicle they wanted to insure, they just sent the VIN number, which we didn't have. But our model was smart enough to know that, hey, VIN numbers have a formula to it that probably correlates to that 2019 Toyota Camry. So, and it was enough for the model to say, yes, that is the vehicle. So we actually confirmed that the vehicle they wanted to insure through a VIN number rather than the make, model, and year, which is a very interesting way of doing it, but it worked. And that's all that matters to the agent when they get that call.
Yeah, absolutely. So Matthew, sorry. No, please.
It just also makes in my opinion, the call experience just a lot better. That when you actually get to that in-person, or I guess phone conversation, it's a lot less of, oh, is this true? How many cars do you have? What's the make and model? Are you a homeowner? Like blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh my gosh, I've been on the phone with this guy for 30 freaking minutes and we haven't even talked about, the insurance part. I'm just being interviewed. So having all that data just right in front of you just lets them get straight into the pitch, get right into talking about the insurance rather than bogging down the entire process.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the things that I would like to really spend some time focusing on, here in 2026 is how to make that handoff as graceful as possible. But there still is an element of training, like to make sure that every insurance agent is well aware of how cohesive this could be, right? And I think insurance agents that work leads before a service like Mav, which basically sits on top of them, is so used to just taking it from the top. Whereas really here, you kind of got to take it from the middle. But the folks that really master that and understand the strategy around that are going to have higher close rates. They're going to do lower talk times to close. And from an economic standpoint, that's going to pay dividends to the agency.
Absolutely. So one thing we haven't talked about yet is something that every lead buyer faces, which is, poor quality leads, or leads that are worth less than what they are typically buying. So a lot of our lead buying clients, it's very rare that a lead is either worth zero or the maximum amount, but there may be sources or sub IDs within sources that are sending some good leads, but there's a lot of bad leads in there as well. Matthew, do you guys work with the kind of those bad leads at scale, right?
Bad leads? I've never heard of such a thing. No, I'm joking.
Bad
I'm
leads
joking.
probably, I would say, when you're looking at a set where engagement is the expected engagement is going to be less.
There is a lever, right? Like there is a lever, and I think it's so prominent in insurance leads specifically, where there are leads where it is not economically profitable for a human to work them initially. Like that is just the hard facts, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that those leads won't work. It just means you cannot work them with a human initially. And that is a really good spot for us to be. It allows us to unlock revenue that couldn't be there before. And it just keeps getting a little bit more tough. There's a lot more competition. Commissions are shrinking. Folks are shopping around more than ever. It's not just the every 5 years. Maybe it's every 6 months now, right? So, you know, being able to work a lot of leads at scale that aren't economically possible with humans is a very good sweet spot for us. And we kind of like to refer to it as, the insurance agents that pick up our live call transfers, they shouldn't even know if that lead came from the highest grade lead source or the lowest. All they should know is that they got the intent, they qualified, and they treat them all the same. So that mentality and that composition in terms of the team stays the same, but now you can actually have the luxury of plugging and playing all sorts of lead vendors, all sorts of quality, and it's a lot easier to make those economics work in a timely fashion too.
Yeah, you said it much better than I did. Here I went and did the same thing I tell our clients not to do, is qualify or quantify them in good and bad. But you're right in that it is a spectrum, and so those leads that can be obtained cheaper can then be worked programmatically.
Yeah, it's all about what's converting, really. One of the most successful clients that I remember you and I talking about when we first set this up was doing exactly that. He's doing a great job with Boberdoo and using it to partition out all of his sub IDs, really get down to the details, where are these quality leads coming from? Where am I making these conversions and where am I not? And just being able to filter out and split up all of his traffic. It's like, okay, I'm going to send this stuff to Mav so that they can start working these, maybe get some conversions, find where that intent is, and then send it back to me when they're ready to go. And the rest of them, sending them just direct on to their buyers or to his own, agency, just to start getting on the phone and talking to them.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the very unsaid thing in what you just said, Jake, is that in order to pull that off, right? And we're seeing more and more of our customers pull this off quicker. But in order to correctly pull that off, you need timely access to the disposition data, right? And just how we started this segment here, we talked about positive intent. You can capture positive intent extraordinarily quickly over SMS that you would never get if you were sending it to a human-based call center. Here's why. When you send out a text, it is extraordinarily easy for a consumer to say, interested, but later, or just not now, or not even interested. I'm not even searching for auto insurance, right? And that's data that you can use almost instantaneously to determine, should I continue this lead source? Should I slow down? Should I turn up? Should I pause? Should I restart? That feedback loop is almost instantaneous. Whereas you think about what it would take to spin up a new lead vendor, put more reps out there to answer phone calls, that feedback loop goes into the weeks. And you could be burning out reps on a new lead source only to find out 2 weeks from now, you're not even in the same ballpark as what you need in terms of positive economics. So we really like to compress that time to economic viability metric, for lack of an acronym, but we really try to compress that for our customers so they can make those decisions quickly. And then, they're off to the races and they feel comfortable trying out new lead sources and getting that info quick.
So yeah, that was the positive intent, as you mentioned. And then there's, of course, the flip side. The next use case then that we can talk about is compliance, or kind of handling that negative feedback. So revocation is something that we hear through our clients, but Matthew, I think that it's something that you guys live on a more daily basis. So what is revocation for your clients and how important is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just if it's important or not. It literally is required, right? Especially over the last year and a half has been a wild one for our industry, right? Like you can just think of all the things that could have and couldn't have with the FCC one-to-one ruling and all those requirements. But look, like in terms of how we operate in this world, we try to be the most lenient vendor possible. And what I mean by that is if you have a global DNC, we need to integrate with it two ways, and we're going to make it extraordinarily easy. And the easy way of looking at that is if you get an opt out in any other channel, you should be able to send to us real time, and we should be able to opt that consumer out, obviously. But on the flip of that, Mav also happens to get some opt outs too, right? And we get them in various ways, right? There's the hard stop opt out, right? And we call that a hard opt out, and we send that to our customers' global DNC. You guys are seeming to be more of that nowadays. And then, we also have other things like soft opt-outs, not interested right now. Like it's not a stop contacting me, but it's a not right now thing, right? And both of those and allowing our consumers to kind of make that choice of what to do with those seems to be pretty important. But yeah, our two-way opt-out APIs is one that is public. It's very easy. We have Zapier integrations too for both of those actions. So we really allow our customers to kind of plug and play there too. And then also, even going one step higher than that, we do integrate with like DNC.com and Blacklist Alliance and those folks too. So if people actually want higher level scrubbing services or the national DNC, they're able to kind of plug and play there as well.
Absolutely. So for that third outcome, the not right now, what's your clients typically do with that?
It depends, right? Some consumers that are more focused on the now, probably nothing. But other consumers know that there is a repurchase window and it's shrinking a lot more as we go in. So a lot of folks will take that and run a re-engagement campaign and all sorts of things, right? And knowing what type of opt-out it was. And like for conversational AI, it's actually getting so much easier to start bucketing the sentiment of each of these messages. Like excuse my language, but a fuck off and stop messaging me, that's pretty clear, right? Like we know that's a hard opt out, right? But if you were still in, NLP land, maybe you wouldn't process that. Maybe that's just a stop. But for us, that's a 10 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
But folks that say, thanks for contacting me, but I went with another insurance carrier, we're smart enough to know that that's not a hard opt out, but they're out of market, right? And let our customer decide what they want to do with that. And more often than not, a timely re-engagement, depending on the buying cycle, performs really, really well. If you get ahead of a consumer who's thinking about not renewing next month, that message is going to be received well. And obviously you have things like TCPA windows and all that good stuff related to this topic, but there are areas of opportunity there that are completely within compliance that we see customers making good use of.
And so, yeah, it's important then to be able to have a central place to update that information so that you can launch those re-engagement campaigns or other types of campaigns. Jake, can boberdoo be that? He said leading.
Absolutely. Yeah. We work with basically like our block list. That's kind of like a central repository for managing and maintaining those opt-outs, those do not calls. And similarly with Mav, having various like webhook triggers based on that to similarly, notify Mav if that trigger isn't coming from them directly, if it's coming from consumer down the line. We can notify, the vendor that the lead's coming from and all in between. And then also, APIs for, checking in on that. Vendors often peek under the hood and say, hey, before we send you this, are you okay to take this lead? Can we check check out that DNC list, make sure everything's good to go before they just start sending stuff over, making sure everything's going the way it needs to.
Pre-flight checklist, right?
Exactly. Everyone hates the term post-reject.
I'm sure they do. Yeah, and it's interesting too, because sometimes you hear of vendors that don't support a real-time API for this. And I just don't understand how the compliance aspect can't be real time. If there's an opt-out in my system and I'm bulk uploading this, 24, 48, 7 days later, I mean, that's you're at risk, right? There's exposure there. So, I think it's very important when you pick your vendors, which it's so rad that you guys are kind of making a splash in this area, but you need folks that support that real-time integration and all your telephony tooling around that, whether it's Mav or anything else you're using, it also needs to integrate with that real-time two ways.
Absolutely. Well, awesome. So that use case that popped into my head when at the beginning here was actually one that you guys covered related to scaling with a new vendor, just purely automatically, not even ingesting leads into your own CRM, but sending them right to Mav so that those look just like a live transfer coming from Mav and like any other lead source.
Yeah, so, Scott, could you repeat that last part? Really, sorry, it kind of cut out here for me.
You mentioned, Matthew, that your clients will often be able to take a lesser quality lead source and be able to essentially treat them the same way because you're doing the working and qualification to produce that live transfer. So coming into the rep, it looks just like any other lead. And that was actually the automation idea that I was thinking. That way you don't even put the lead into your CRM until it's qualified by Mav. So that allows you to expand into verticals or vendors like maybe co-reg or that don't provide the full lead form.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, any consumer that has intent and obviously TCPA written consent, our solution is a good one for working leads that just simply are not economically viable with humans.
Absolutely. So we're going to open it up for questions here in a minute, but before that, I just wanted to put up some ways that you can get in touch with Mav and Boberdoo. So our websites are on here. Matthew, was there anything else related to contact that you wanted to?
Yeah. Thanks for giving me a little minute here. Obviously, you're more than welcome to go to hiremav.com, schedule a demo with our awesome team. We try not to do any selling. We really try to do solutions-oriented selling. So you'll enjoy the demo. You'll enjoy talking to our whole team. But if you are a agency, specifically a PNC agency, and you are considering getting into the voice game, drop me a DM on LinkedIn, say you were watching this webinar, and I have something special for you. So we're excited to give this away to a couple of early folks before we do a public announcement a little bit later in the year.
Thank you. Well, I think it's a good opportunity here to open it up for any questions that the audience has. I will pop that up here.
Sorry, I got to crack another liquid death here.
I was going to say another Modelo.
Yeah, sorry. I was like, oh man, did that go up? Just water.
You guys covered everything in such great detail, nobody can even think of a question.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. The entire lead generation space in one webinar.
Well,
you guys got any fun things coming in 2026 that folks should know about?
Yeah, we are working on something called omni-channel. So with the Boberdoo Form Builder, right now, paths are very linear, right? The outcome is a call or a click redirect to a landing page or a data lead. And so we are merging that into one experience so that the ping will be processed across all partners, whether they're a click buyer, a call buyer, or a data buyer. And then the final step for the consumer will be dependent upon that scenario. So they will be
Very
able
cool.
to get a phone number if the best way for them to get in contact with the service provider is the call, or the contact information to fill out the form, or be redirected to another landing page to better service them.
Very
That's the
cool.
big thing that we're working on. We'll roll out in Q1 of 2026.
Always pushing the needle over there.
Well, thank you. Well, I think this is probably a good time to wrap it up then. Matthew, thanks again for your time today. Appreciate it. Jakes, thanks again.
Absolutely.
Of course, anybody
Thanks,
has
guys. Really
questions,
appreciate it.
please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you.
Thanks.